The Sunday's election in Italy appears to have given no party a clear majority, signaling a period of political instability for one of Europe's biggest economies.
Now, as of Monday, the official vote count indicated that the anti-establishment five-star movement will gain the most seats in parliament, although they will not be able to form a parliament. Now, the election results further highlights the push by Europeans for nationalism, as Italians snubbed a supposed favourites, former Prime Ministers Silvio Berlusconi and Matteo Renzi, and went for new movements that share the nationalistic sentiments.
Italy has for years suffered the pressures of migration, and political watchers say Italians have shown their displeasure with their votes. And just like Donald Trump's America First, Italians also want Italy or Italians first, signaling that the end of the EU might just be near. All right, is it the end of the EU?
Well, it certainly will not be, because a lot of countries are still under the security, economic security of what the EU stands for.
Don't forget that Italy is one of the three major
economies.
EU countries. Exactly. And if they've pulled out, and France, of course.
Well, some of the political parties have that as part of the ideology, but this ones that say, no, we want to keep that extreme part of things.
Let's just bring
behind.
in Cyril Abaku, who is our TVC News senior researcher. Good morning. Good to have you on the show.
Good morning, Ngozi and Mike. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Okay, so Euroskeptics and fascists on the rise.
Yes, it is. If you look at the pattern lately, from Brexit to what happened in Austria, to what happened in France, where Le Pen even got a second round, to what almost happened in Germany, where the Nazis won as much as 13% in parliament. It's unprecedented. I mean, close to 100 years after World War II. All these far rightists, these conservative nationalists were pushed to the brink. And, you know, I mean, they were pushed to the corner. So that people who were more centrist, who were more willing to interact, where, you know, began to come into the mainstream. But I think that over the years, they have now lost it. And people are beginning to ask questions. I mean, we saw this coming. We saw that the elections are going to end up in a hung parliament, what we call a hung parliament, where none of the parties will be able to win a clear majority to form a government. But beyond that, nobody actually saw. I didn't, for instance, see the five-star party, this five-star movement, winning as much as up to 30%, and garnering the largest stake. We are parties like Forza Italia of Berlusconi and the League, you know, will even queue behind them. It was unprecedented. And what is the five-star bringing to the table? They said they don't want politics anymore. That is to say,
clean up politics.
Yes, they want to clean up the Aegean table. They also don't want this unbridled migration. They want other European countries to also share migrants too. You know, they are anti-establishment. So clearly they are saying that, look, we are tired of the mainstream. But I think that somehow the political elite or the political leadership in Europe today is not conscious enough, or is not taking into reckoning the disillusionment that is sweeping among the electorate. So you know, I mean, like, they continue to take them for granted. But we are seeing that people are beginning to revolt. Europe itself, if you look at Europe itself, in the events leading to World Wars I and II, they were highly nationalistic, individually national. If you look at what happened in the elections now, Berlusconi was a member of the coalition that involved the League and I think Brothers of Italy also. But even his own party came second or came third. Now, giving a party like the League, which was formerly just a Northern Italy party,
a lot of
the upper hand, because they said, okay, from being Northern Italy, they are now pro-Italy. But they are actually also right of center. So you find that people are moving back to the right. Why moving back to the right? I'll give you an example. A lot of migrants are coming from the Middle East. Okay, that is one. And I think last year or so, German Chancellor Angela Merkel was talking about, let's give the gays equal opportunities in Germany as well. Now, the reason why Europe came together was because after World War II, they needed a common umbrella for security against a common enemy. And so those countries came together and saw America as providing for them the nuclear umbrella. So they said, okay, whichever way it is now, we have to cooperate and work together. But that togetherness has lasted for some time. And the same values that they are meant to protect in their togetherness, they are now beginning to open their borders again. And so, I mean, you saw the terror attacks in Germany. we are not saying that people that those who came from Middle East are terrorists, but there is no other way common Germans and common Italians and common Austrians and common Hungarians will interpret this other than the fact that our leaders have gone too far in their interactions.
Full circle.
Yes, exactly. And so they should come back. Let's go back to the basics. Forza Italia simply means go Italy. That's Berlusconi.
Yeah.
You had the Five-Star Movement. The fact, their own is, former Prime Minister Matteo Renzi said those people are extremists. Call them what I want to call them. As far as their message resonates with the common man, they are there. They went to Southern Italy, they were campaigning. People laughed them off and said, social media doesn't win elections. It has proven them wrong. An establishment that looks at social media and says that it will not win elections, see what it has done.
But basically, what are the issues that discerned or directed the people's votes?
There are two key issues. It happened, like I said, it happened in France, it happened in Germany, immigration and the economy.
Okay.
There is all these countries, we call them the most powerful country in Europe, Germany, Italy, Spain, and so on. They are all groaning under the yoke of extreme EU regulations in trade. Why did they say that they didn't want Brexit anymore? And people are telling them that, look, you're going to shut yourself out of. They said it's okay. Even if all the banks are going to move out of England, let them go today. We want England for England.
Which is already happening?
Yes, because when you open up, I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking sides, but when you open up your borders, your jobs are up for grabs. Your culture is going to be subject to
adulteration.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, okay.
If I have to use
or let's say modification and so on. And if you know Europe very well, they value their nationalistic identities very strongly.
And they're saying they want a more sovereign Italy. That's what the Italians are saying.
It's not just, yes.
So what is the implication now for Europe?
It is a dangerous implication because when you have a Five-Star Movement that has 32.something% of the vote, and they were saying that they didn't even want to form any coalition, and you have the League that has about 20-something% of the vote, it means that if these two Euroskeptics come together to form a coalition, every step they take from that point on will be anti-EU. They have stopped. They have gone. They are just one step short of saying that they are going to move out of the EU because, of course, there are implications. The EU also gives them subsidies, and so. But the fact is that European policies on migration, on trade, on culture, on jobs, on a number of areas are going to face a severe. You see what Trump is doing with even global trade, with NAFTA and so on. That's what they're going to do with Europe. And Europe has already suffered from Brexit, which is bad enough. So if the Italians come and say, even if we're not going to formally cut ties with Europe, but all the policies that they're taking are going to be anti-EU, who wants that?
Okay, so are we in a clay and iron generation? And it's very clear now that they can't just stay glued together, just like oil and water. Well, it's happening in America, now it's happening in Europe, and everywhere else. And who knows, Africa may just begin to think along those lines. So we're going back to the days of sovereignty of nations, which we were told was a good thing.
I'll give you the bigger picture and the immediate picture. In my own projection, this is what's going to happen. Of course, both the Italian League and the Five-Star Movement, it will take them some weeks to even reach, talks for coalition usually take long.
Yeah.
So, it will take some weeks to look at what they can take off the table and what they're going to retain and so on. But I can assure you that on migration, on universal basic pay and so on, they're going to have some level of agreement. If you take your mind back to when the world was doing this nationalistic, Italy for Italians, England for the English, and so on, it didn't go too well. That was what in the 20th century led to the rise of strong men. What is his name now? The one in Italy. Benito Mussolini. You had the Vladimir Lenins and the Stalins in the Soviet Union.
And the Hitlers.
You had the Hitlers of Germany. You know why? There is a lot, and you can read the trend. There is a lot of angst among the people, and any wise man can ride on public sentiment to power.
Yeah, but isn't there a difference, a marked difference between nationalism and, what's that word, sovereignty of a nation?
You see,
can any nation still be sovereign in a global world like ours right now, where globalization is key. And Donald Trump, for example, is saying globalization is just not good.
You know, you call it sovereignty. I mean, in basic secondary school government, we were taught that international participation in international organizations is a callback on sovereignty. But the question is, how much of that are you willing to give? That is one. Number two is the fact that, look, people just, nationalism is a very strong feeling. Even in Nigeria here, what we call tribalism is what in continental language we call ethnic nationalism. The slightest spark or attack on anybody, people just tend to come together. You have 5 children on their way to school. One is, let's say, Idoma, the other 4 are Hausa. When there is a problem between one Hausa and one Idoma, the other Hausa boys, before they even ask what happened, what do? They rally
they could come together.
And when the economy is dwindling, you know, the English is not so much about the EU. It's about participate in the UN, we care less. Participate in the EU, but when there are no jobs, unemployment in Italy today stands at 11%. So there's joblessness. And the economy is grinding. Since Berlusconi's first come in 1993, the country continued to go into debt. You know, I mean, it was the debt burden that made them vote matter power. I think the second or the 4th time. And so even now you can see that after he won regional elections in Sicily, November last year, it gave him the fillip or the booster.
That he can come back again.
That he could launch a comeback and put Tajani as prime minister. But the blow that he has taken, the blow that Matthias has taken, has taught them a lesson. What I want them to do is to sit back and understand that the people are agitating, that the common people, poverty, the poor in rurals in southern Italy, and the agitators in northern Italy have come together. They couldn't form a single majority. So they have to sit back together and say, okay, both the north and the south, meeting in both the league and the 5-star movement, come together. But more importantly, they should look at what people are saying. The angst is deep. I think they need to address it in time. Otherwise, like I said, in another 20 years, we are going to have very powerful leaders in the world that will even question the very legacy of democracy that they attempt to sell out because Berlusconi came, he was fascist. Hitler came, he was Nazist. The fact that the supporters of these parties that couldn't speak 5 years ago, that couldn't speak 10 years ago, are now boldly giving 13% to parliament of parliamentary seats in Germany. They are speaking loudly in Austria. They are speaking loudly in Hungary. They are speaking, if not for that, the French government brought up a major conspiracy against François Fillon. They would have put a rightist in France, and they would have, because this thing is simple. Once it takes place in one country, the feeling, you know, it just blows across.
Exactly, it's like wildfire.
So what they need to do is to sit back and say, look,
on the other hand, too, now that they have migrants in their territories, in their hundreds of thousands,
and millions,
in the next 10, 20, 50 years, these migrants are going to have influence in the impact of how elections are, because some of them are going to become like citizens because they can't go back anymore. Some of them are going to intermarry and all of that.
That's exactly what they're afraid of.
Exactly, but it's going to happen.
But then again, it looks like the will of the people
is going to happen,
becoming louder and louder and louder.
And
maybe Africa can take something from that.
Because you keep referring to Africa.
Yeah.
You know, I have something to thank for what Italy, you know, these democracies have. The fact that people can vote and their voice can be heard. If it were Africa now, you won't know who is voting for what and who is not voting for what. In the end, they'll declare a winner.
So it's okay. But we'll keep a tab on that. We'll see how things play out. Cyril Abaku, senior researcher, TVC. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Anytime. Thank you.